just finished my morning writing session on my novel, and as I was sitting down to write today, it occurred to me that this is the best thing I've ever written. Like, not my master's thesis that I got like a perfect grade on, not whatever papers I wrote when I was still an academic, but this novel, which is basically a fanfiction, is truly the best thing I've ever written, not quality wise, but because it is the story that my teenage self would have needed. And that is very important. That means a lot because I was a very weird teenager, you know? I grew up in an immigrant working class household, so my parents are from Central Asia, from Kazakhstan, and I grew up in northern Germany. And as I said, my parents were working class, and I went to a pretty elitist high school. So that means that I was one of the few kids in my grade who were really working class and who were immigrants. And in addition to that, I was also neurodivergent. I didn't know that back then, but I know that now. And so that all led to me being a very weird kid. And as you grow up, you think you grow out of that. You gain some self-esteem. You find your people. You gain self-worth, which is even more important. And you accumulate all these successes, and you think that's enough. That's enough to heal the wounded kid within that just wanted to belong, that just wanted to fit in. And so as I'm writing this novel, I realize the importance of art for healing. And I think this is an important point because in today's world, it's, we validate art when it is like when there's monetary success attached to it, okay, you can be a writer if your goal is to hit the bestseller list. You cannot be a writer if your goal is just to write, that's ridiculous. You should stick to your day job. But if your goal is to gain some sort of validation and success in the world, then it's okay, we can live with that. And I want to say that's bullshit. That is pure bullshit. And obviously you should be able to live off of your art, right? You shouldn't have to live by this starving artist trope. I don't believe that. But what I do believe is that if you are an artist, if you're creative, and by that I mean if you're a human being, because all human beings are creative. If there is some sort of creative spark within you, then the first instinct shouldn't be, how can I monetize this? Because this novel I'm writing right now, I'm not monetizing it. I'm not even showing it to people, right? It is for me. And I truly believe that a lot more people need this. We need more weird art. We need to create more weird art, and we need to be exposed to more weird art, especially in this day and age. Because what weirdness truly is, it is uniqueness, right? It is your essence. It is something that only you can truly express. And you never know how it might land. Right? Yeah, you never know who it might save. And I think the most important person it will save is yourself. As I said, your teenage self. We all have that awkward person within. And I'm specifically talking about the inner teenager because we talk a lot about the inner child, like in self-help and stuff. And it is very important. And I think it is very easy to have compassion for your inner child because we know automatically that children are innocent, that children need to be protected. I don't think we know that about teenagers. I think that we often think of teenagers as these not quite adults, they have many responsibilities that a child does not have, but they do not have the same rights, and that is because they are children. Teenagers are still children, they're still developing, and we need to give them more grace, and we need to give our own inner teenager more grace, especially for their weirdness. We need to validate that, right? We need to validate that our inner teenagers' weird interests and desires are not only worth having, but that they are also worth expressing. And this should be reflected in our art. Because honestly, everything that interests me now as a almost 30-year-old woman, I can see the glimpses of that in my teenage self, just as I can see them in my child self. I was always someone who was interested in occult stuff. I was interested in spooky stories. I was interested in human psychology, in bettering myself, and all these things still interest me now, 15 years later. So when you are struggling with your self-worth, I truly believe that art is one of the most powerful venues to really heal that. Which is easier said than done because there are already so many wounds attached to art itself, right? But when you can open yourself up to that possibility, it gives you this window into yourself, into your own soul that you could otherwise never get. And so art then becomes this powerful form of self-therapy. Like I always say, ages ago I made a video on this channel about I think top 9 modalities that helped me heal my childhood trauma that wasn't therapy, and I still stand by that. And I would say that probably, like, if I could really break it down, it would probably only be 2 things. One would be reconnecting with my body, getting back into my body, because when you have trauma, you only really exist from the head up, right? Like you're not in your body. That is number one. And the second one is art, is creating, is being a writer, even now creating YouTube videos, healing my trauma around expressing my opinions and my voice. Like, that is so profoundly healing. I truly believe that I healed more from creating one YouTube video than I did in 3 years of talk therapy, right? And so that's not to say that therapy is bad, that's just saying that there are certain modalities that kind of just, by virtue of what they are, they make you alchemize pain. They make you alchemize your pain and all your hurt, like everything you think are weaknesses, into strength. And it is especially by creating the art that your inner teenager would have liked to create, the art that your inner teenager thinks is cool and amazing, that you tell yourself, you tell them, you tell the world, hey, what I like is okay, what I'm interested in is okay, it is worth being expressed, it is worth spending time and energy on, and I am worth spending time and energy on, even when I'm not creating for anybody, even when I'm not creating for anybody else's approval, even when I'm not creating for anybody's validation, even when I'm okay with people thinking that what I'm doing is stupid. Fine, you know, like I think a lot of things are stupid, right? Like people still have the right to do them. Why not me? Why not me? And why not you? Like, why should you not have the right to express what you truly want to express, to create what you truly want to create? And I know it's difficult. I know that there's a lot of pain attached to this topic, you know, not just trauma healing, but art. As I said, there are so many wounds that we all carry, so many lies we've all been told about what is art, who gets to create art. Like when I refer to art, as I said, I'm a writer, but art can be anything. Art can be like drawing, obviously, it can be painting, it can be music, playing an instrument, singing. It can be cooking, it can be gardening, it can be anything. Truly, it can be anything that is an extension of yourself. And we all need that. And I hope this video made sense. It was just, something I had the need to express, which in itself is an act of healing, right? Like coming online, posting a video, not knowing if anybody's gonna watch that, still doing it, still telling myself, okay, I have this thought and it is worthy. I am worthy of putting myself out there, even if it's not perfect. And you never know how it might land, right? Like, maybe I'll post this video and you might literally be the only person who ever watched it. But if you do watch it and you're still in at this point, that means that you got something from it and that will have been worth it. My first video I posted after my hiatus due to health reasons, I got so many nice comments on it and even private messages telling me, you know what, this is really what I needed right now. You spoke to my soul. And that meant so much to me because that video was like this one, completely improvised, just something that was on my heart, something that was not polished, but something I felt needed to be expressed. Like it needed to be expressed for me and it needed to be expressed for someone out there. So that is also something to consider, you know, when making art, because first of all, it is like the healing function it has for yourself, but then what it might mean to someone out in the world. For example, last year during my health struggles, so I used to be in academia, then my nervous system crashed, I had to quit my PhD, I was chronically ill for 1.5 years. And that was due to a combination of different factors, and amongst one of them was my complex PTSD, really, you know, emerging, putting me in the trenches. And during that time, it was a very, very dark time in my life. It was like really around this time last year that I read Salman Rushdie's Knife. And, you know, Salman Rushdie is a brilliant author whose life had been at risk for like 30 years, basically, for expressing his opinions. And so a few years ago, there was this horrific attack on him that almost ended his life and led to him being permanently disabled. And in this book, Knife, he recounts that attack, and he recounts the year that followed, really trying to survive what happened, survive it physically and survive it physically and survive it psychologically. And that was so like reading that book. It was very hard, obviously, because you can feel his pain in his words, but it was also so healing for me seeing him move through that process, him and his wife and his family. Uh, Reading that this person whose intellect and work ethic I so admire went through something so horrific and managed to get through it. Not like there's no end to PTSD, right? Like for most people it is, and I know that especially for complex PTSD, like I have, it's not something you can really heal. It's just something you learn to live with. And reading that, and this book, I do believe it was not written to be motivational. It was just written to express Rashdi's pain, right, and his healing that it gave me so much strength, even though I was still in the very beginning of my journey, right? I was still like in the trenches. What followed was genuinely, I think, the hardest 9 months of my entire life, which is meaning a lot. and and reading that book, it helped me. It really helped me hold on. It helped me think, okay, I'm not the only person who has ever suffered from this. I'm not the only person who needs this lifeline of knowing that other people. I'm not the only person who needs this lifeline of knowing I'm not alone. So yeah, who knows? Maybe through creating this art that your inner teenager needs, maybe through that you heal not only yourself, but you heal also someone else. And that might even be if you never show them. As I said, I'm not showing my book. Like it's mine. It's no one's business. It's mine. And still, writing this book is really what has allowed me to return to YouTube, to make videos, to find my voice, because I've practiced expressing myself in this private manner. I now have the self-worth, really, to believe that I can also express myself in the public manner. So these are my thoughts. I hope they were useful to you. Please let me know in the comments what you are working on or what you are struggling with creatively. If there is like, especially if there's like art, trauma, whatever, like whatever you want to discuss, because I always look at the comments to decide what I'm gonna make next. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.